Ever since I came to Indonesia, I've had so many people asking me questions about how one can get an international teaching job. I know I've done so many videos talking about mindsets teachers should have, some of the things to consider before you accept an international teaching job. But I've not really done a video that covers the A to Z of applying and getting an international teaching job. My name is David Wilson. You can call me Achabu or Teacher Achabu on this channel. I have been teaching for the past 13 years, 7 years in Ghana, 5.5 years in Vietnam, and currently I'm in Indonesia. So I have an idea of what it takes to land an international teaching job. And in this video, hopefully I'll be able to cover the A to Z of applying, interviewing, and accepting your next or your first international teaching job. Let's get this video rolling. The qualifications and certifications you need to apply for these international teaching jobs includes at least a bachelor's in the subject area that you intend to teach. And if the bachelor's is in education, that is even great. That is, if you intend to teach science, you need to get a BEd in science, because that will increase your chances of landing these jobs. These jobs, they require that you be trained in the subject area and you be trained as a teacher. So if you have a BEd in the subject area, it checks these boxes. My bachelor's is not in education. My bachelor's is a BSc. I have a BSc Environmental Science. So if you are in the same situation like I am or like I was, you do a PGD or a PGC or possibly an MEd. In addition to my BSc Environmental Science, I have an MEd in Science. When you have these qualifications, it's really good. But one thing that I've realized that can increase your chances of landing top-tier international school jobs is getting a teacher license from mostly these Western countries, like a US teacher license, a UK QTS, a Canadian teacher license, an Australian teacher license. The reason is, if you look at these international schools, the curricula that they run originates from these Western countries. So if you have a US teacher license, it will increase your chances of landing jobs in these international schools, because these international schools run curricula that originate from these countries. Like some international schools run the US AP curriculum or the US Common Core curriculum. In some international schools, they are British international schools. They run the Cambridge International Curriculum. Some also run the IB curriculum. So if you have trainings in IB, or if you have a license from these Western countries, it will increase your chances of landing these jobs. That doesn't necessarily mean that if you don't have these qualifications or certifications, you are not going to get your first international teaching job. The first job that I got, my first international teaching job that I got back in 2019 in Vietnam, I had my qualifications were just the BSc Environmental Science and the MEd Science. But after getting into Vietnam, I got some additional qualifications, second master's and an IBMYP teaching qualification, and then a US teacher license. So I hope you get an idea of the qualifications you need to apply for this job. At least a bachelor's in the subject area, and if the bachelor's is in education, that's great. But if it's not in education, that is, if it is a BSc or a BA, make sure you do a PGD or a PGC or possibly a master's. That will demonstrate to your potential employers that you are very good in the subject area and you are also a trained teacher. I hope you get the point. You can have all these qualifications, but if you are not called for an interview, you'll be wasting a lot of time. And what normally attracts these potential employers to call individuals for interviews is your CV, how your CV looks like. Back then, I was using CVs that contain at least 4 pages. I thought the more the pages, the more it demonstrates that you are fit to do this work. But having experienced a managerial role back in Vietnam, I've come to realize that most employers or most managers do not spend more than 30 seconds on a CV. So if you have your CV squeezed into just 2 pages, with all the relevant information on these 2 pages, it will increase your chances of being called or invited for an interview. So this is how my CV looked or looks like. You don't necessarily have to get this template, but you should get the idea of how your CV should look like. I have my picture on my CV because I don't want potential employers to be surprised when they see me in person and they realize they are going to interview a black teacher. So my CV has my picture. It has all my qualifications, relevant qualifications. It has all my experience, the relevant experience. It has all my skills, as you can see on the CV, the reference section. And one thing I would advise you not to put on your CV is your objective. If you're applying for a job, employers know that your objective is to get the job they've opened vacancies for. So you don't need to write the objective on your CV. I rather suggest you put in your career summary to summarize your experience, your qualifications, and the places you've worked at. So basically, this is how your CV should look like. And the maximum pages I'll advise your CV to have is just 2 pages. Because again, most employers and managers do not have time to look through all these pages in your CV. So if you can capture the most important points about your career, that is your qualifications, your experience, your skills, and your achievements, relevant achievements in these 2 pages, I think this will increase your chances of being invited to the next interview. So you have your qualifications checked, your CV streamlined for these jobs. Where do you apply for these jobs and how do you do it? I would advise you look on some websites to apply for these jobs. There are so many websites you can apply for these jobs. I would normally go to the school's individual websites, check their employment pages, follow the instructions they require of candidates, and then apply for these jobs. But there are some websites that can make things easy for you. We have Search Associates. I've never used Search Associates in the past because I think it is quite expensive, but I've used some other paid ones. You can try using Search Associates because I know people who have gotten jobs through Search Associates. You can use TES.com. TES is a free website. You should bear in mind that once it is free, the number of applications received by these employers, it's huge. So if you're applying through TES, understand that you are competing with everybody who is applying for these jobs, because once it is free, they'll just click the button, upload the documents, and apply for the jobs. Some of the paid websites I would advise or recommend include tieonline.com and scroll.com. The current job I have now in Indonesia, I got it from scroll.com. I'll briefly talk about scroll.com. Scroll is a platform where you can just upload your qualifications, your experiences, your certifications, your visa status, your availability. You can filter the jobs based on your subject area, based on the region, the country. You can do all this thing on Scroll. But most importantly, you can get your referees to complete reference requests from Scroll. And once the reference requests are completed, they will be on your profile, and potential employers will see that you have these references, for you. So it becomes very easy for you when you are interviewing with employers on Scroll. Again, my last job, I got it on Scroll and it was very easy. The subscription fee on Scroll is $50. And also on Scroll, some schools have details about the benefits you get when you work with them. So it becomes easy for you to decide if you want to work with such a school, looking at the benefits or the salary range. So basically, these are the websites you can use to apply for this top tier international teaching jobs. So you worked hard, applied for these jobs, and you've been invited for your interview. Congratulations. You need to prepare adequately for your interview. I normally watch YouTube videos and look at likely interview questions at teacher interviews, and read or watch the sample answers and then practice them in front of the mirror. Right now, I would say I have some amount of experience interviewing, so I don't prepare as much as I used to when I was first applying for these international teaching jobs. But you need to really prepare, craft your answers to suit your situation and experiences. If you go copy this model answers on YouTube on this website, it might sound nice to you, but you wouldn't stand out in the interview if you are interviewing or if you are competing with other candidates. But if you are able to explain situations that are unique to you, if you are able to answer questions that are unique to you, this will create lasting impressions in the minds of the interviewer or your potential employer. I've had so many experiences that can attest to that. My current school job, during the interview, I answered questions that made the principal said, over his 30 years of teaching and management experience, he's never heard such an answer before, and he thanked me for that. So I'm very sure some of the answers that I mentioned in my interview made him, remember me, or made it, create a lasting impression in the minds that they interviewed a candidate called David Rees-Wilson. So in the nutshell, prepare for the interview, practice if you need to, and make sure you craft the answers to reflect your own personal experiences and situation. And hopefully you'll get that job. These are the things I will do if I am applying for an international teaching job. And hopefully when you do this, you draw closer to landing your next or your first international teaching job. I hope you found value in this video. If you did, I would appreciate you like, you subscribe, and click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a content, you'll be notified. And these are the things I will do. But there's one last thing that I normally do before I accept an international teaching job. And I created a video about that. You click on this video here and then you watch what you need to do before you say yes to any international teaching job. And I hope, you take care of yourself. Until my next video, bye-bye. Peace.